clearly, as would be expected, my reaction is thank goodness, huge relief. About time. The delay involved in the judicial review put such uncertainty into the efforts of Glenveagh to address our housing needs here in Ennis. I mean, it's important, Sean, to remember that Ennis is the largest town in Munster, and it is growing in leaps and bounds. Just to give the listener an idea, right now the Ennis Municipal District has a population of 34,000, and it's envisioned and projected that our population will be 37,000 within the next 14 years by 2040. It's coming quickly at us, the need for a growing town like Ennis to address our housing needs. And Glenveagh have been committed to Ennis from the very get-go. When I was the mayor of the Ennis Municipal District back in, I think it was 22, the announcement came down from Bórd Pleanála, now Commission Pleanála, that the grant was given under strategic housing legislation. That grant was for 289, almost 290 houses. And that has been tied up in judicial review until just the end of December. The High Court have quashed that. So that is now a standing permission for Glenveagh to build out 289 homes. Simultaneously, Glenveagh went in to the Clare County Council on new legislation and was granted a separate permission for 298 houses. Mm-hmm. So which or whither, Sean, the houses are going to be built, either under the original application granted by the Bórd Pleanála or under the new application granted by Clare County Council. I believe Glenveagh will start moving right away on the construction of these houses under the permission granted by Bórd Pleanála, which would be 289 homes, some of them a certain proportion as is required to be social and affordable. So it's a very positive news story for Ennis. It's a huge display of confidence by one of the largest home builders in Ireland to Ennis and County Clare. And I'm very, very pleased. And so are my colleagues throughout County Clare, but especially in the Ennis Municipal District, that we are finally getting things started on this much needed house build.
As you're aware, Clare, a Part 5 agreement has been signed between Glenveagh Homes and Clare County Council, meaning that 20% of the development will be designated as social or affordable housing. How important is that, and is that welcome news for you?
Of course it is. We still have to continue to address social housing needs, but I think we have to also address affordable housing needs. We're doing very well, I think it's fair to say, on the build out of social, but we do need to do better on the build out of private homes and affordable private homes. A couple of months ago, we had a meeting with the realtor, the auctioneers, and the housing builders here in Ennis, and they were literally calling out to us as elected representatives to address the blockages in the build out of homes in Ennis, residential properties. And we are still in workshop mode to address the Minister for Housing and his call to change our county development plans to allow for higher quantity of land to be zoned for residential. So we are doing all of that. And what is really positive is to see a developer like Glenveagh continue to be committed to the build out. Because, Sean, let's be honest here, the delay caused by the judicial review is going to cost, it's going to add more to the per unit cost of the house, which is not positive when we're having such incredible hikes in the cost of real estate here and property.
When Glenveagh submitted their original plans in 2022, there was a discussion at local level at Ennis Municipal District, and local representatives raised concerns that having such a high density of housing in one area, having so many units, so many families living in one area could cause concerns, and there were mentions of social problems as well. Do you feel that's a concern with this development?
Well, look, it is a dense development. Nobody's saying it isn't, but it's needed. Now, you are correct. The planning department, in fact, apprised the councillors of their concerns. It wasn't just issues of antisocial behaviour, which can always be managed. I mean, I believe allowing ourselves to be curtailed by the risk of antisocial behaviour is just not acceptable to me. You manage that risk. But what was highlighted, Sean, was the issue of egress and ingress. There is going to be one entry point to this very large scale development. That is a concern with regard to peak time congestion. But every possible avenue to improve the footpaths and accessibility for pedestrians and cyclists and so on will be provided within the limits of the width of the road. But there is no question, we will not deny that congestion will happen at peak times here. But we've also got to acknowledge that this is a growing town. Congestion is part of a growing and in denser population, and we work within those parameters. So yes, there were concerns, but I believe the balance of what's right for the common good and the need for this housing has been addressed.
Just finally, Clare, how quickly could we see shovels in the ground for this project?
Well, in preparation for this interview with you, Sean, I spoke with the planning department at Clare County Council, who clarified that Glenveagh can move on this next week on their original application that has now been quashed in the High Court as of the end of last year. I think it was December 31st. The High Court threw out that judicial review. And therefore, Glenveagh can start building as of next week. So in terms of houses materialising on this property, I'm told it could happen within a year, which is a very positive thing. Now, it will be done in stages, so you won't have the disruption of the build-out of 289 homes at one time. It will be done in phases, and it's possible indeed that Glenveagh will subcontract these phases to local builders. I'm not sure about that, but I believe that's a possibility.